Chapter 21. The Miscellaneous Chapter. Renouncing a small good for the greater. The Bodhisattva's son in a previous life met some Pācceka Buddhas, attained awakening, and later died. When his father found out, he honored his grave. Through the power of that merit, when in this life he became the Buddha, he received similar great honors. He taught the monastics with this verse. 290. If by renouncing a small good, he might see a good that is large, the wise should renounce that small good, seeing the good that is larger. No happiness through hatred. A young girl stole a hen's eggs, and the hen, when reborn, killed the girl's offspring. Through their hateful connection, they were reborn together and destroyed each other's children in 500 existences. When the Buddha met them, he taught them with this verse, and their hatreds were appeased. 291. One who desires happiness for oneself by causing suffering for another, being associated thus with hatred, is not fully released from that hatred. What is to be done? The monks of Pattaya were very keen on decorating their shoes and wearing shoes of many different and fancy kinds. When the monks reported this matter to the Buddha, he laid down rules about footwear and then taught them with these verses. 292. That to be done is rejected. What is not to be done is done. For the insolent, the heedless, their pollutants only increase. 293. But those who always properly undertake body mindfulness don't practice what's not to be done, persisting in what's to be done. For the mindful, fully aware, the pollutants are laid to rest. The True Brahman. When Venerable Lakuntaka Pattaya was passing by, the Buddha spoke a cryptic, saying to the effect that the monk had killed both father and mother. The monks were astonished, but the Buddha was speaking metaphorically. 294. Destroying mother and father and two noble kings, destroying a kingdom and its followers, the Brahman proceeds untroubled. Commentarial interpretation. Destroying craving and conceit, and the two, eternalism and annihilationism. Destroying passionate delight in the 12 sense spheres, one without pollutants proceeds untroubled. 295. Destroying mother and father and two prosperous kings, destroying a vicious tiger as the fifth, the Brahman proceeds untroubled. Commentarial interpretation. Destroying craving and conceit, and the two, eternalism and annihilationism. Destroying the 5 hindrances, having doubt as fifth, one without pollutants proceeds untroubled. Gautama's disciples awaken well. A youth became very practiced at the recollection of the Buddha. So when he was attacked by spirits, he called out, "Homage to the Buddha," which forced the spirits to serve him. When the king found out, he asked the Buddha if only this recollection was an effective protection. And the Buddha taught these 6 types of meditation. 296. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening, those who day and night constantly have mindfulness of the Buddha. 297. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening, those who day and night constantly have mindfulness of the Dhamma. 298. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening. Those who day and night constantly have mindfulness of the Sangha. 299. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening. Those who day and night constantly have mindfulness of the body. 300. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening. Those who day and night have a mind that delights in non-violence. 301. Gautama's disciples always awake to a good awakening. Those who day and night have a mind that delights in cultivation. The suffering in births and deaths. The Vijayan prince ordained, but hearing music and festivities coming from Vesali, he was dissatisfied and asked, "Who is worse off than we monastics?" The Buddha taught him the various kinds of suffering that there are in births and deaths with these verses. 302. The going forth is hard. It is hard to find real delight therein. But it is also hard to dwell in households that are suffering. Always dwelling together with those different is suffering. Travelers in the round of births are affected by suffering. Therefore, don't be a traveler. Don't be oppressed by suffering. The faithful are held in esteem. After being taught by Venerable Sariputta, Citta, the householder, attained the second stage of awakening and determined to go see the Buddha. He arranged a great caravan and provided for all who wished to accompany him. He emptied his carts on the way, but upon leaving, the residents filled them with jewels. The Buddha reflected on what had happened with this verse. 303. The faithful one who is endowed with virtue and has wealth and fame, whatever place he resorts to, right there and then he is worshipped. The good are seen from far. Kula Supata, the daughter of Anathapindika, was married into a faraway family who supported the naked ascetics. But through modesty she refused to serve them, and spoke to her mother-in-law about the Buddha and the Sangha. As to invite him for a meal, she went to a mountain top and threw flowers into the air. The Buddha, knowing her intention, accepted the invitation, and, when questioned how he knew of the invitation, spoke this verse. 304. The good are visible from far, like a mountain covered in snow. But the wicked are not seen here, just like arrows shot in the night. Hermits delight in the forest. Venerable Ekavihari was a forest-dwelling monk who lived alone in every way. When the monastics reported his way of life to the Buddha, he praised the elder in this verse. 305. Sitting alone, lying alone, walking alone and diligent, the solitary one who trains himself will delight in the edge of a forest.